My name is Carlos Walker, and this is Art and Hustle. This is Black Authors Matter. So I have Miss Leslye Penelope with me. If you will, please, Miss Penelope, share who you are, share a little bit about your book, and let's talk about why you created.
So I'm a writer. I'm a fantasy author. I also write paranormal romance. And my latest book is The Monsters We Defy, which takes place in Washington, D.C. in 1925. And it's a fantasy heist story. So I've always been a writer. I had never tried to do a heist before. And the book came about because I had this idea to do a Harlem Renaissance era fantasy heist. Like I had never seen that before. I wanted to dive into the history and like shine a light on that era, but in my own way. And so my books always have some kind of magic, some kind of powers, or something like that in them. I love Black fantasy. And I'm from Maryland, so I was thinking originally it was going to be set in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance, but I was like, there's not enough books set in DC. There's not enough books set in where my mom's family is from DC. I went to Howard, so I have a lot of experience in DC, and I just wanted to have that be on the page and have people be able to see, these are the places. There was such a strong Black community for such a long time in DC, and it used to be Chocolate City. It's not anymore, but I just kind of wanted to shine a light on an era in that city's history.
I like that. A couple years ago, well, yeah, probably about a couple years ago, I thought about Harlem Renaissance, but then I realized something. This too, or this era, soon will be a Renaissance.
Yeah.
And it's more powerful than that one only because of the information that we know, the things that have happened over the last, just say, 12 years dealing with was there's from 2000, just say 12 till now, there has been, what was his name? From Florida that got killed by George
Oh,
Zimmerman,
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. You have all of these different fights that we have had to fight over the last, just say, 10, 12 years that are different from their fight.
Mm-hmm.
But we're even seeing certain parts of our elders' fights
Oh, yeah.
and ours. And this makes this a different era, but it also shows kind of what you are showing in your book, the power, the fantasy part. We have powers and we don't realize what our powers are. Yours is your voice. You're able to write and put things in perspective. I'm an artist, a writer, I do a few different things.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the power of being able to document certain parts while showcasing what we do. And that's crazy. But share yours. How many books have you wrote?
I've written about 15, depending on how you count them. But also, what you said was really important because this book, The Monsters We Defy, the main character is a character who was a real person. I based her on a real person who lived through the 1919 riots and beyond. And in those riots, she has a lot of parallels to Breonna Taylor. And when I saw that what happened in 1919 and what happened in 2020 were a very similar occurrence, I was like, that's why, you have to know your history, obviously, so that you can see the parallels, the things that have changed, the things that have stayed the same. They're echoes of the past that are still with us right now that we have to reckon with. And so, yeah, it's important yeah, and right now it's going to be in another 100 years. Where will we be? Will we still have these problems in 100 years? We all hope not, but
This ain't gonna be a problem in the next 100 years. I can promise you that. One thing I realized, we as a community of people have went through a few different, what's the where I want to word this, environmental changes.
mm-hmm,
Slavery being one.
mm-hmm,
Well, let's go before slavery, but then slavery being one. Jim Crow being the next.
yeah,
Mass incarceration and everything that we're going through now being the third. But there's a pivotal point where life transitions to where you're supposed to be.
mm-hmm,
You remember watching the movie Black Panther?
yeah,
That's our future.
mm-hmm, yeah,
And you have to be able to see what you're supposed to look like in order to become it.
Right.
A Black community, thriving, technology, everything, but one nation.
Mm-hmm.
That's us. But you have to be able to know that it's coming.
Right.
And somebody have to, it says in the Bible, it says, where there's no vision, the people perish.
Mm-hmm.
What I learned, if I was to ask you, what is the vision for Black America, what would you tell me?
Well, it depends on who you're asking. What's the vision? What's our vision for ourselves, for our future?
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
already know somebody else got a vision,
right,
but
right.
our
Yeah.
vision.
We want a vision of triumph. We want liberation. We want freedom and all the things that we've been trying to achieve this whole time. Afrofuturism is like Wakanda. That's,
Mhm.
vision of Black people in the future has been revolutionary. It's been radical. There's so many futures that don't picture us in them. So it's up to us to envision that and make it a reality. Once we can envision it, we can create it. So yeah, I think our vision is just complete liberation and just freedom.
So it's never really been one set as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
We have never set one for ourselves. But what we, just because we are talking about Afrofuturism and fantasy, it's not fantasy when you can think it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fantasy when you can believe and put the processes in play in order to get there. At one time, the slaves didn't have a system that they could put in place because they didn't know a system.
Mm-hmm.
They were a multicultural group who came here from multicultural facets
Right.
that now ended up here. And this people went through facets of life. Jim Crow. They
Mm-hmm.
started creating blocks, to say Black Wall Streets,
Yeah.
these things, but all of them was forced. They was all out of force, not out of hate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you are creating, you create them out of love.
Yeah.
More Black people want to actually buy Black now because we did, yes, feel a hate, but we're learning to love. And I know I kind of shot this everywhere, but you remember what this means? Do you know what this means?
Aside from Wakanda Forever.
It doesn't mean that.
Oh no.
It meant love in sign language.
Oh yeah.
When I read this about why they put that in there,
Mm-hmm.
and what it led me to know is during that movie's presentation, all Black people were walking around telling each and everybody that they loved each other,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing that they was doing so. And
Mm-hmm.
what's happening is we are building the blocks because we are history, or what they say is how did it go? Basically, it's 2020 when you look back.
Oh, hindsight is 2020.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have hindsight of what Black Wall Street looked like,
Right.
but we also know all the information to recreate it.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Yeah.
time we recreate better than it was then, only because we have, yes, a model set, but fantasy gives us the future or our lives to set it in the future.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But about your books, because you had me talking. So 15, basically 15 books. This is a
Mm-hmm.
lot. What
Yeah.
are they all built in fantasy, or what are they?
Yeah, they're all different kinds of fantasy. So my first novel was Song of Blood and Stone, and that was the first in a series it took place in the past, but in alternate world. So a different Yeah, it was an alternate world in the 1920s. And there's a total of 7 books in that series. And that was kind of like these two countries were at war. One people were darker skin, one people were lighter skin, one people had magic, one people didn't, and they had been at war for hundreds of years. So the whole point of the
Okay.
the point of the series was whether these two countries, these two people who had been at war for hundreds of years, could find peace. And so that was a historical fantasy. Then I have more contemporary stories that have fantasy elements, and I have another series that's in the future, a future version of San Francisco, where there's shifters, so people turn into different animals, regular animals, and then like mythical animals like dragons and phoenixes. And there's always a thread of love story in my books. I believe in Black love very strongly. I always want to see that on the page. Yeah, exactly, love. And I know a little sign language. So like I didn't put it together because people do all kinds of hand symbols for different
Mhm.
reasons. But yeah, that is true.
How did you
And
learn sign language? Gotta ask this question.
I started learning in high school. So there was a class, a semester long class, and I learned a bunch of signs. And then after, when I was an adult, I actually started a program to become a sign language interpreter. I took a year of classes, and then I ended up moving out of state and I wasn't able to finish it. So recently, because there's actually sign language in my book that comes out in June, there's a character who is mute and speaks via sign language. And there's other deaf characters too. So I've been using an app and trying to brush up on my sign language skills because it's still something that I remember what I learned back in high school, but I would like to learn more.
My niece is actually deaf.
Oh, okay.
That's another reason why I asked that.
Yeah.
So, being a phenomenal author or artist, however you want to look at this, um, I want to thank you for all the work that you have done. And I want to make sure that I promote your books as much as possible because it is important or vital for us to be able to share our stories coming from a people who was told once that we could not read
Mm-hmm.
or write because people didn't want us to understand what the mind could actually do if you could add on to it. Your
Mm-hmm.
mind is the biggest thing, that the strongest muscle that you have, and it can take you from an out of body experience
Right.
to reality.
Right.
And what I want to do is make sure that your work is known because all of our works should transition, as we know, it goes past the time that we live.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's our legacy.
And because of such, I don't know a lot of people who done wrote 15 books. So you are beyond what the you are beyond an average person. None of us are average. We all have powers, but you actually know yours.
Well, thank you. Writing's always been part of me. Reading's always been really important to me, so I always wanted to write. And I just keep going. I get up every day and I write, 4, 5, 6 days a week, depending. And that's how you get to 15 books and more.
I think the word says your gift will make room for you and put you before a great man.
Mm.
And this being your gift, it supports you. I'm assuming, correct?
I have my own business and I write half time and I actually am a website developer the other half of the time. So I like to have my hands in different pots. But yeah, I've been growing my writing business for the past few years.
If you don't mind me asking, how many books, or can you accumulate how many books you may have sold?
Oh, total? Oh, that's hard. I know that I don't know, maybe like 40 or 50,000
That's
if I'm
powerful.
adding. Yeah.
That's powerful. Uh, I haven't sold that many books, but I've only been selling books for the last 2.5 years. Well, no,
Hmm.
last 3 years. And I commend you on all the work that you've done because
Thank
that is
you.
very inspirational to hear of someone who looked like myself actually do that.
Right? Yeah. I think there's a market out there. The people, for a long time, it's like, oh, Black books don't sell. I feel like people have paved the way so that publishers know that Black books sell. And then there's a whole indie, self-publishing indie market, which has proven Black books sell. So there's readers out there. And, a lot of times they just don't know, we don't get promoted as much a lot of the time. And so there's there's more writers out there than ever before, more Black writers.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's great the work that you're doing, uplifting these voices. And we just need to try to support each other and try to help each other get read, get seen, and make sure people know that we're here.
If you can tell a young author or an older author, any author, something of value, words of wisdom,
Hmm.
what would you give them?
I think that it's a difficult industry, regardless of how you publish. There's a lot of ups and downs, and so really connecting with the thing that you have to say. There's something inside of all of us. I think we all have a story to tell, and regardless of whether your art form is writing or music or visual art or whatever, we have something to say that someone needs to hear. And that can get lost a lot of times when you're trying to hustle out here and get your work out here. But just remember that what you have to say, somebody really needs to hear. And it's our job and our purpose to get the word out there so that they can hear that thing. And so that can help keep you going when you get discouraged and things are difficult.
Thank you for that. It is important because somebody, as you said, need to hear this.
Hmm.
They're going to hear the words that you just spoke. they're inspirational to anyone who's either starting their journey or even maybe in their journey. So thank you. And once again, if you can, share your, I guess, your website, share your handles, let them
Mhm.
know where they can purchase your books, how they might be able to get in touch with you.
So my website is lpenelope.com, and I'm on mostly Instagram as Leslye Penelope. It's Leslye with a Y-E, so Leslye Penelope. And a lot of my books are available in regular bookstores. I self-publish and do traditional publishing, so online bookstores will have all the books, and you might be able to find some in your local indie bookstore or Barnes & Noble as well. So yeah, you can get in touch with me through my website or hit me up on social.
Appreciate you. It is an honor to be able to do this interview on you. And if there's anything else you want to say, let the people know, and we'll end it.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And just, yeah, read more books, read more Black books, check out more authors that you haven't heard of before, because you might find something that you really needed to hear.
So peace and blessings to each and every one of y'all. This is Art and Hustle, and this is Miss Leslye Penelope.
Thank
Thank
you.
y'all. Stay on if you will. Blessings.